Hey guys, it's Dana and it's time to talk about money. And in this video, we are going to talk about the new definition of debt. Oh, that's not what I want to say. And in this video, we are going to talk about the new definition of rich and how it has everything to do with debt. So let's get to it. First, a little coffee. Okay, so what is rich? What does being rich mean? Most of the time people think of it as meaning that you drive a fancy car, that you live in a big house, that you take luxury vacations, that you have your children in private schools, and that you wear designer clothes, carry designer handbags. But that's not rich. That's not rich to me, and I think more and more people are realizing that that does not mean that you are wealthy. What it means potentially is that you have a lot of debt and that you could be stressed out, incredibly stressed out, and that you have no control over your time, that you are basically a slave to your job, that you need your income in order to afford all those high-end, expensive luxury vacations and things that you are buying. So really, to me, being rich means that you have control over your time and that you have choices and that you have the ability to do things without financial pressure. So if you do take a vacation, then you are not paying for that vacation after it concludes. It is, paid in full before you go. You can fully enjoy it. You can relax. To me, that is the definition of rich. And high income earners, they often live paycheck to paycheck. And that is also not what we are looking for. You could be making $200,000 a year, but your fixed expenses could exceed that, which means that you are certainly not rich, although others might look at you and think that you are. So there is freedom in low fixed expenses. So if you have less money that you have to pay out the door and you keep that down, then you have more margin. So the money that you make, you actually get to keep it and then spend it or invest it as you decide. It's not obligatory to be sending it out to satisfy your debts. So the less debt you have, if you don't owe any money, if you don't owe any money anywhere, you don't owe anybody, then whatever income you make, whatever amount of money you make, it goes in your bank account or in your investments or wherever you want it to go, and you have the choice. And to me, that is rich. And lifestyle inflation is really the silent killer here, because I think what often happens, especially, let's just use doctors as an example. They go to med school for a very long time. They go through residency where they get paid very little. And then they often acquire a lot of debt to get these degrees. And then suddenly they make it and they are, a physician or they are a specialist. And they finally got there. And like they are this high powered, in their minds, doctor. And they want to live the lifestyle because everyone around them is like, wow, you're a doctor and you're driving that piece of junk. You need a better car than that. And so then before they know it, they start to go and to buy into the lifestyle of the doctor. And then they start to before they have all this debt and they have basically no money because all the income that they make goes towards paying off these debts that they have accumulated or to pay for the things that they are buying. And it's something that sort of snowballs out of control for them, and I think is incredibly difficult. I remember watching the interview in the one documentary I watched about a dentist who had over $1 million in debt, in student loan debt, and he said he contemplated suicide quite often. So even though his income was incredibly high, he said never in his entire lifetime did he expect to be able to get out of underneath the debt that he had accumulated. And whoa, what kind of life is that? I felt really it's soul crushing. I felt for this person on a really deep level. I can understand I can see how that could happen. And then also, where do you go from there? A lot of times those student loan debts that people accumulate, they are not bankruptable. There's absolutely nothing that you can do because even if you declare bankruptcy, you still owe the government. You have to repay those student loans oftentimes. So the power of being debt-free to equal a state of mind of being rich is that you have the power to then say no. You can say no to certain jobs. You can say no to overtime. You can just straight up quit your job if you are not happy there, or they're asking you to do things that you're not comfortable with or you don't want to. Also, just, if you're in a situation where you feel like you are, a witness to sexual harassment or any kind of harassment, you can report it without fear of retribution. You don't have to worry about them firing you because of it, because you are, you don't owe any money, so you are in a place where you can do that. Or you might be able to choose to not work at all and go live the van life and travel and just go see places because you don't have a lot of, expenses. So it's okay. Like, you might be able to make it work with your savings and be able to travel for a while. And you have the freedom to do that when you want while you're still young, which I know is important to a lot of people. So that's another reason to be debt-free, because you are, able to do the things you want to. Also, debt-free households build wealth faster because they can quietly build wealth, because they can just take the money that they have and they can slowly begin to invest or save or purchase real estate properties. So your cash flow becomes a wealth building engine instead of a debt servicing machine. But unfortunately, we've been trained, most of us, to increase our lifestyle every time we receive an income increase. So we, get a raise or we get a new job that pays a lot more. And then it's almost like society, it has encouraged us then to move up in house or move up in car or move up in, the type of clothes we buy, or, so it's kind of, it's difficult because there's a lot of pressure that maybe we don't even realize surrounding us when we make these jumps up, because people are like, congratulations, that's amazing, oh, you got this new job making all this money, we should go out to dinner to celebrate. And then it's like, especially if you were telling people about it and you're saying, oh yes, I got this new job and I'm making, and sometimes it's hard for us not to share those things because we're just so excited and we want people to feel excited with us and be proud of us, and we might tell them, but then they expect you to pay for the dinner or pay for the drinks when you go out because you're now making more money, so hey, you should pay for everyone's round of drinks tonight. So again, it's that lifestyle creep of where when we're making more, it's just we start spending more, and it kind of which leads me to why I truly believe that you should not necessarily broadcast or tell people within your circle, within your family and your friend circle, that you are debt-free, so that you don't have to experience those types of pressures, or even necessarily that you are making more money, which is hard because if we have a business and our business starts taking off and making all this money, it's like something innate within us as human beings that we want to tell people. But then when you tell them, like I said, there will be this sort of subconscious expectation that you will spend more money because of it. But if you can prevent that from happening, you'll be able to sort of become this wealth building machine, like I said, because then all that extra money that you're making, you can then start to invest more and become an owner, right? Which is where true wealth is, where you start to purchase, property, or you start to invest more in, index funds, and you can start to own pieces of companies that way. And then that's when your wealth can really, truly expand. But it can't if you're just spending it all. If you're just, going to go out and, move up in car. And I know it's very tempting to drive a fancy car, which I do not. I have very old cars. And sometimes I think it might be nice to have a fancy car, with all those bells and whistles, which I don't even really know how to use them. I don't want to know how nice it is because I don't really want to know what I'm missing. I just think I'm fine with what I have, and I don't, necessarily want something that's more complicated, and I don't drive that much. So I just want something that just will get me to where I need to go around town, and that's basically it. But if you would like to watch the video where I talk about why I think you should not tell people you are debt-free, you can go ahead and click the video here. And if you do, I'll see you there. If not, I'll catch you next week. Bye, guys.